Hello, and welcome to the 74th episode of Recluse Horror. This is a daily horror movie review podcast. With me today again is Sam.
Hey.
Who is sick today, so...
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on the show anyway.
Yeah.
So just a little background on the project. Back on my birthday in April, I decided I wanted to watch and review a horror movie every single day. I have done so for the past 341 days. Although only the last 74 have been podcasts. Before that, it was text reviews. So today, we're going to talk about Feeding Time from 2016. It's a short film. It was almost 13 minutes. Sam, what did you think about Feeding Time from 2016?
It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll elaborate more in a minute.
Later on? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good. There are some parts that I super loved. I think, we watched this in 2 sittings. We started watching it the other day, and then Sam had to leave for whatever reason. I can't remember why. And then,
important business. I'm an important person that has a lot of obligations to fulfill. I'm sure that was...
probably what it was.
Yeah.
It's probably what it was. So yeah, but all the fun stuff we missed because we watched it in 2 sittings.
Well, I remember it.
Yeah, but it's not...
Shut up. No, I remember all of it. It maybe ruined it for you.
It didn't ruin it for me. I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was just okay, if that.
Oh my god. Okay, so Sam is a jerk because he's sick. I don't know if you know this about Sam.
I'm great when I'm... whatever.
He gets really grumpy.
No, I don't get grumpy.
The one thing that's good is that he doesn't yell as much because it hurts.
I don't yell in general.
Yeah, Samuel's never yelled.
I'm very mild-mannered, a very calm person that doesn't yell.
It doesn't ever yell.
Yeah.
Yeah, mellow. Definitely.
Yeah, mellow.
This one is about this girl. Her friend can't come to her usual babysitting gig, and so she asks her friend to cover for her for this babysitting job, and that turns into a horror movie. Because that's how horror movies start, is by babysitting.
Sometimes.
You should never babysit.
Sometimes.
So what did you think about the acting?
It was okay.
Oh my god, you definitely don't remember.
I didn't think it was anything great. I don't think it was bad. Yeah. No, what did you think was so great about the acting?
The acting in the beginning, especially those first couple of minutes, were really good. It was really good. I thought all of the acting all around was good, but in the first 2 minutes, everything is like... You watch this in one sitting. Everybody who is listening to this, who is ever going to watch this, watch it in one sitting, because the first 2 minutes are great, but I think it fuels the rest of the movie. And I think that's what we're coming into. That and Sam is sick, and so he hates everything. Does that check out, Samuel?
You asked me to be on the podcast, so don't give me shit now that I hate everything.
It's true.
I was like, I'm sick, I don't want to do it. And you're like, do it, please.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that he's wrong, but he's not.
Yeah, no?
Yeah.
You're on the list of things I hate because I'm sick.
I was already on that list, and don't even try to pretend I wasn't.
Alright, you're on it again.
Oh,
Double
my God.
on it.
Oh, man. Twice? Shit. Yeah, but the acting in this I thought was really good. There weren't any moments really where I felt like anybody wasn't doing pretty much what you would expect. There's a couple of teeny things where I would have maybe changed one particular part of a performance, but it's very, very small moments. And that can be said of pretty much any movie I've ever seen. So that seems fair. What did you think about the effects?
I don't even know how to put it into words. So what did you think about the effects?
It's definitely a throwback. I think it's a...
is that what you're deciding? Okay. All right.
Well, okay. Now, hear me
it's
out.
It's like throwback Mountain Dew.
It's a little bit
just bad Mountain Dew that they they said throwback on it.
Oh my god. It has cane sugar, okay? I'm not a Mountain Dew person, but I do know the difference between throwback and
regular. Tastes gross though.
I don't know. I think I've had it once. I think I thought it was fine, but I'm not a huge Mountain Dew person, so. But yeah, no, it's definitely a throwback, the quality of them. It looks a lot like stuff you would see out of the 80s. And the reason why I think it's definitely an intentional throwback is the music track, specifically in the end, is very, very 80s. The graphics are very, very 80s. And even, like, the costumes, to an extent, are from the 80s. Now, this doesn't take place in the 80s. There are cell phones and everything, but I think this whole thing is sort of intended.
It'd be cooler if there were 80s cell phones, huh?
Yeah, 80s cell phones, big old giant things with those giant battery packs.
Yeah, cooler.
Super great. But yeah, I think it's definitely an intentional throwback, even though it takes place in modern day. I mean, even the concept of like the babysitter having issues, like that is such an 80s. How many of them happen?
Yeah. Adventures in Babysitting, the best horror movie.
The very best horror movie. Yeah, it's got Vincent D'Onofrio in it, so it can't be not a horror movie.
Yeah, exactly.
He plays Thor.
Okay, now that you said that, okay.
Uh-huh.
The effects are bad.
They're not great.
And it's not like a deal breaker because of the tone of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest problem is they could have went a little bit more in that direction of, like horror comedy or quirkier.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's fairly quirky.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of how
mm-hmm.
ridiculous the effects are, it should have been a little bit more in that vein, so that it felt a little more natural and a little bit more cohesive, a little more. There's just a few parts that are just like, because it's only 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That are just like, this is
almost 13.
Yeah. This is so horror movie tropey. And it doesn't really make sense for the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie's like quirky horror comedy. Like the intro is like quirky. The effects, what happens in the.
So what are you saying isn't quirky? Like some of the tone?
Yeah, like all the horror movie stuff, like all the like searching in dark rooms, all the like horror movies gonna happen. Let's wait.
I will say that yeah, some of the horror stuff. I think what they were just trying to do is like not sacrifice the horror elements to horror comedy. They didn't want to make the whole thing completely
I think that's
cheesy.
Not...
You think that wasn't the way to go?
It would have been fine, but the effects like are cool, but very. What were you saying? Classic? Is that what your throwback?
80s throwback, yeah.
Very throwback, so that makes it feel weird. I actually liked it probably more than I'm saying.
But you're sick.
As you might know, I'm sick.
So everything kind of sucks.
But I think that really I like horror comedies. You're saying that like it's a bad thing.
No.
But I like probably horror comedies as much as I like just regular horror movies, probably more.
Because at least they're trying to be funny.
And this is the thing that seemed the most reused was the straight up horror stuff.
That's kind of true, actually. Even though the whole thing is supposed to be a lot of the stuff that's the straight up horror didn't feel terribly different from any other horror something that you can find. I thought it was fine. I did think like people who are afraid of horror movies, people who actually get frightened by standard rank and file horror movies would have probably been scared of it. So I feel like if we weren't a little bit very desensitized to horror, then maybe... What?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're very unsensitive in most ways.
Aww.
I don't mean insensitive.
I'm sensitive to sicknesses.
I don't mean insensitive. I mean unsensitive.
Unsensitive.
Yeah. I know that unsensitive isn't a word, but that's like what I mean. So
making up words on the podcast.
Yeah. Unsensitive. It's a word. I decided.
It's a word now.
It's a word now. But yeah, I would say that people who are sensitive to horror movies, who do get scared by horror movies, would probably have actually found those moments really, really compelling, or really, start to get the blood racing a little bit. Yeah. I think on non, like really desensitized horror fans, that would be like a really effective move, because you get the horror comedy elements in the other parts of it, and then during those horror moments you actually are genuinely frightened. Us being people who are not generally frightened by horror movies, or almost ever frightened by horror movies, I think it just feels like they didn't fully commit to the vibe that they were going with. So I do understand what you're saying. I think this is just one that depends on what your perspective is, what enjoyment you'll get out of that ratio of how things work, if that kind of makes sense.
Sure.
So, I thought the pacing was pretty good. I didn't think like they spent too much time on any one particular moment. It did feel like they were about to spend too much time on a couple of things, but then they didn't. What did you think about the pacing?
It was good. Yeah. Like I said, the only thing that really bugged me about the movie was the horror element. I liked everything else. The acting was good to fine. Nothing super special there. Not that it was bad. It's a pretty simple setup and story. The camera work was good. There were some good shots.
Yeah, there were.
The lighting was okay, decent.
They had rope light.
Yeah, they had rope light.
Did you see rope light underneath those cabinets? Yeah.
Had some rope light.
Love rope light.
The effects were cheesy but effective, nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's really just the horror element that I feel like disconnected the movie, and I would say it less so if the effects weren't so cheesy. So once you see them, there's no way you would. Who would be scared of that? Yeah, you're not getting back into the horror vibe. You're not getting back into like oh, this is scary. It's like, well, which is why it's like fun and ridiculous.
Yeah,
which absolutely. Is I wish they would have played up a little more, and that's really my only complaint.
Right, but to be fair, I feel like they didn't try to do the straight horror after they showed the effects.
No, they didn't. It just You take in a movie kind of as a whole, Yeah. And, when it's only 12 minutes, it's not like they could build a bunch of time.
Yeah, it's
for
true.
For it to switch,
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, is there anything else, before we get into, like, the people who made this, is there anything else that you can think of? Okay. So, this is one of the reasons why I wanted Sam on the podcast. Probably the main reason. So, everybody, basically, who's in this, except for the lead, is people that we're familiar with personally. Not, we don't know them, but I mean, we've seen a bunch of stuff that they've been in. So, the writer and director is Matt Mercer. I know I've mentioned him on the podcast before. He was one of the brothers in Beyond the Gates. He was the lead in Contracted 2, and he was in Contracted 1 as well. And this is the first time I've ever seen anything he's written or directed. I thought it was pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised by this one. I did think, like I said, it was an 80s throwback. But it was, I've only seen him act before. I liked him in, Contracted 1 and 2. Beyond the Gates, he was also good. The problems with Beyond the Gates, we reviewed that a while back. If you haven't listened to that one, you can go back. It's on there. It's one of them. Definitely wasn't our favorite. We were really annoyed by the fact that the game was incomprehensible and you never knew what was supposed to be happening. But the problem was definitely not in the acting. Matt Mercer played one of the brothers there. Now, one of the actors in this, his name is Graham Skipper. He plays a character named Dale. He was the other brother in Beyond the Gates, and he was also that officer in the Devil's Dolls. Do you remember that?
I don't think I saw it.
I'm pretty sure you did.
Then yeah, I remember.
Okay. Well, he was in both of those. So I've seen him before. It's funny because it's his character and then the other character it basically play the mom and dad. There's the mom, the dad, and the babysitter. The mom and the dad were wearing an outfit that made it very hard to recognize who they might have been, and I knew I recognized both of them. So the actor who plays the mother, her name is Vicky. She's played by an actress named, and I don't know if it's Nahara or Najara Townsend, but she was the lead in the first Contracted movie. And she was phenomenal in that. I really thought she was super great in that. I loved both Contracted 1 and 2. Did you like those? Did you see both of them?
I saw both of them.
You did. Did you like them?
I think I liked 1 more than 2.
Really?
I think so, but I could be switching them.
1 is the one where she's the lead, and then 2 is the one where Matt
I just
Mercer.
meant by whether I liked it or not.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
One of them I liked a lot. One of them I liked considerably less.
Considerably less?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was a little redundant to make it 2, like...
Uh-huh. I can't remember exactly how you felt.
We should do it. We should just review
those.
One day,
yeah. Both of those I think we watched before we started doing the podcast. I can't remember, definitely before we started doing the podcast, but before I started doing these reviews, in general.
One of them, the first one, I think.
The first one. Did I do the second one?
I think so.
Okay.
I think I remember watching the first one just randomly.
Yeah.
And then you were like, "Oh, I'm doing this thing."
Yeah, we should
watch
Contracted
that.
too.
That I think it was an early one, but I could be completely wrong.
I can try to.
And this is a good part for you to listen to on the podcast.
Yeah, very compelling. All of us talking about movies that we've seen that we're not gonna review or whatever. I don't see it on my list here. Let me see. No, the only movies that are... Oops. Helps if I spell it right. No. I've mentioned it. I've mentioned Contracted on the Beyond the Gates review that I did in text and this one right now. So yeah, we watched both of them before that. It would be good to go back and review those because I did really like both of those. If you haven't seen those, they're both on Netflix. They're really good. It's definitely unique. It's for whatever reason, they're not rated terribly high. If you're a horror fan, I think that there's a pretty good chance you'll be interested in it. Especially if you watch a lot of horror movies and are looking for something just even slightly different. I feel like this is more than slightly different. There's a lot of really good body horror in both of them. Yeah, I really can't say too much more without like getting into a full review of that, and that's not what we're reviewing. So the actor who played the lead in this, who plays the babysitter, her name is, the actor's name is Stacey Snider. She has done, a number of things as well. She was very good in this. I had not seen her, in anything before, at least that I could tell from her IMDb, but I didn't want to leave her out since we mentioned literally everybody else involved in this project, basically. She did a very, very good job. I thought, her acting was very good. It was kind of a tough role because there's a very fine line to play on this. And it's something that I think a lot of actors in short films wouldn't necessarily be able to do. So, honestly, I thought this was a good job all around. I was really excited when I saw that Matt Mercer was involved in this because I did really like him in both of the Contracted movies, and I really wanted to like Beyond the Gates. That was one of the things that I kind of wanted to see is like where I fell on Matt Mercer's like acting performances, and I really didn't get a chance because that movie, I mean, it just didn't give them anything to like build off of. I felt like. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about this, or?
Or Contracted, or...
Yeah.
No, because we did, Beyond the Gates.
Yeah.
There's a podcast about it.
Yeah.
Check it out. It's somewhere.
It's one of the episodes. It's in episode something.
Yeah. Yeah, and Contracted. We should talk about that.
Do you want to talk about that now?
No.
Just one of these days? Maybe we can skip through it to remind ourselves of it and then do an episode where we'll talk about it?
Maybe.
Sure.
'Cause it'll be a minute,
Right.
Yeah, no, then.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely get back to Contracted 1 and 2. They're definitely worth talking about on this, even though, like, it's not something that we've actually, watched for this. But, yeah, definitely worth, like, kind of getting into depth. There's a lot to talk about, I feel like, with that one. With both of those.
There's enough to talk about.
Yeah. So that's our review of Feeding Time and not Contracted or Contracted 2. I really wish there was a third one, too. I hope that they eventually do a third Contracted, by the way. Sorry, that's our review of Feeding Time from 2016. And that's our episode today. Thanks, Sam, for being a trooper again, a super trooper again. Since you're sick. Like I said, since you had seen all of those movies, I'm pretty sure you saw The Devil's Dolls also. I'll try to remind you of what it is.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. So if you liked this podcast, please share it with someone that you love or someone that you think would be interested in it. If you would like to share it with a friend, or if you don't like the platform that you found us on, we are available on YouTube, Player FM, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much any podcatcher out there. If you would like to reach out to us on social media, you can do so on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email me at reclusehorror@gmail.com. Yeah, is there anything else that you want to say? Do you have a rating? Do you have a rating for feeding time?
Like, what is it, like 8 Hugos?
8 Hugos.
8 Hugos, yeah.
8 Hugos. Okay. 8 Hugos.
8 Hugos.
8 Hugos. Okay, and I'm gonna give this one sequel to a movie that we'll probably never get.
Yeah, contracted sequel. It's canon.
I'm gonna give this one contracted 3.
It's contracted 3.
That's a good thing, by the way.
Dang, intertwine those storylines, huh?
Super.
Let's connect the universe.
Oh my goodness. That would be a weird-ass universe.
I'm done. I'm just sick for this.
Alright. Sam, say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.